What's up, everyone? Whisper Gamer here, and welcome to our first Facts Friday video. Today we're going to be learning about Jupiter. Jupiter was named after the Roman king of the gods, which is very fitting for this planet because Jupiter is easily the largest and most massive planet in the solar system. To put this in perspective, it would take 11 Earths lined up next to each other to stretch from one side of Jupiter to the other. And it would take 317 Earths to equal the mass of Jupiter. Jupiter has 67 confirmed moons orbiting the planet. These moons are separated into three groups. The first group are the inner moons. These orbit the closest to Jupiter and are sometimes called the Amalthea group. The names of the inner moons of Jupiter are Metis, Adrastea, Amalthea, and Thebe. Galilean moons are group number 2. These are the largest of Jupiter's moons and were discovered by Galileo in 1610. Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. Then we have the outer moons, which is group number 3. These moons are much smaller and further away from Jupiter. They also have irregular elliptical orbit paths, and many are captured asteroids. The first recorded sighting of Jupiter were by the ancient Babylonians in around the 7th or 8th BC. It is named Jupiter for the king of the Roman gods and god of the sky. The Greek equivalent is Zeus, god of thunder. For the Mesopotamians, he was the god Marduk and patron of the city of Babylon. Germanic tribes saw the planet as Donner, also known as Thor. I don't know if that's pronounced Donner, Dinar, I'm not quite sure. When Galileo discovered the 4 moons of Jupiter in 1610, this was the first proof of celestial bodies orbiting something other than Earth. The discovery also provided further evidence of Copernicus's sun-centered solar system model. Jupiter has the shortest day of the 8 planets. The planet rotates very quickly, turning on its axis once every 9 hours and 55 minutes. This rapid rotation is also what causes the flattening effect of the planet, which is why it has an oblate shape. makes Jupiter 11.86 Earth years. This means that when viewed from Earth, the planet appears to move very slowly in the sky. It takes months for Jupiter to move from one constellation to the next. Jupiter has a faint ring system around it. Its ring is mostly comprised of dust particles from some of Jupiter's moons during impacts from comets and asteroids. The ring system begins about 92,000 kilometers above Jupiter's clouds and reaches more than 225,000 kilometers from the planet. The rings are somewhere between 2,000 and 12,500 kilometers thick. The largest of Jupiter's moons, Ganymede, is the largest moon in the solar system. The moons are sometimes called Jovian satellites. Largest of them are Ganymede, Callisto, Io, and Europa. Ganymede is larger than the planet Mercury, with a diameter of around 5,268 kilometers. Jupiter has a very strong magnetic field. This is around 14 times stronger than the magnetic field found on Earth, the largest of any planet in the solar system. Jupiter is the fourth brightest object in our solar system after the Sun, the Moon, and Venus. Jupiter is the brightest and is one of 5 planets which can be seen by the naked eye from Earth. Jupiter is the only planet that has a center of mass with the Sun that lies outside the volume of the Sun. Though by only 7% of the Sun's radius. Jupiter has a very unique cloud layer. The upper atmosphere of the planet is divided into zones and cloud belts, which are made of ammonia crystals, sulfur, and a mixture of these two compounds. 8 spacecraft have visited Jupiter so far. Those are Pioneer 10 and 11, Voyager 1 and 2, Galileo, Cassini, Ulysses, and the New Horizons mission. Another mission, Juno, is set to arrive at Jupiter sometime around July of this year, 2016. There are also plans for future missions to focus on the Jovian moons of Jupiter, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto, and their possible subsurface oceans. Jupiter does not experience seasons like other planets such as Earth and Mars. This is because the axis is only tilted by 3.13 degrees. Jupiter's Great Red Spot is an enormous storm that has been raging for over 300 years. This storm is so wide that 3 Earths would fit inside of it. If Jupiter had become 80 times more massive, nuclear fusion would have occurred in its core. Had that happened, it would have become a star instead of a planet. That's kind of cool. Some more information and facts about Jupiter. What is even more provocative is that the theory that Jupiter is a failed star. Current scientific knowledge suggests that if Jupiter had in fact been roughly 80 times more massive, we just read that part, nuclear fusion would have taken place in its core, thus Jupiter would have become a star and not a planet. Regardless, it is still tempting to look at the number of satellites orbiting Jupiter and consider it and its moons as in many ways a mini solar system. Although our scientific knowledge of Jupiter has been greatly expanded as a result of the numerous planetary missions beginning in the 1970s, these missions are unnecessary for viewing the planet's surface features. Instead, most of these features can be observed using Earth-based telescopes, for example. As recently as 1994, the Hubble Space Telescope provided stunning images of the impact of the Shoemaker-Levy 9 comet into Jupiter. The atmosphere of Jupiter. The vertical dimension, or the thickness, of Jupiter's atmosphere is more difficult to define than those of the terrestrial planets. For example, whereas the lower boundary of the atmosphere on Earth is its solid planetary surface, there is no such equivalent on Jupiter. Essentially, Jupiter's atmosphere transitions from a gaseous outer zone into the planet's liquid layer. However, for practical purposes, scientists have designated the depth at which the atmospheric pressure equals 10 times the pressure at sea level on Earth as Jupiter's surface. Those layers of the atmosphere visible to Earth-based telescopes are divided into lighter and darker horizontal bands. Scientists believe these bands to be layers of high and low pressure. As a result, storms often develop on the boundaries between two adjacent bands. The Great Red Spot visible in Jupiter's southern hemisphere is one such storm. The composition of Jupiter's atmosphere is very interesting, at roughly 90% hydrogen and 10% helium. Jupiter's composition is nearly the same as the Sun's. The only difference between the two is that the Sun is much more massive than Jupiter. The composition supports the theory that Jupiter could have been a star. consist of 3 regions. The first is a rocky core composed of various elements with a mass between 12 and 45 times that of the entire Earth. The core is surrounded by the second region, a layer of electrically conductive liquid hydrogen. It is due to this layer, which comprises most of the planet's mass, that Jupiter has such a strong magnetic field. The third region consists of ordinary hydrogen with traces of helium, which transitions into the planet's atmosphere. A fascinating property of Jupiter is that it emits more energy than it receives from the Sun. This is due to the planet being so massive. As a result of such a large mass, Jupiter exerts a strong gravitational force on itself, thus resulting in the compression of the planet as a whole. The effect of this inward force is the production of a large amount of heat, which is then radiated into space. And that's all I have today for Jupiter. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'm sorry if you hear any background noises. Some neighbors started cutting the grass when I decided to record this. So I hope it's not too bothersome, and I hope you all have a great weekend. And join me for the next Facts Friday.